Hi, I'm Rupal. How are you all? I applied lipstick as a blush and now I feel as if I look so red like a tomato or as if someone had just really slapped me. I don't know, I feel weird. I hope it doesn't look too red, but it is 31st December right now. Tomorrow is going to be first, the new year. So let's talk about my favorite books of 2024. I have read 31 books and doing the math, I've had a lot of 4 and 5 star reads this year. So I think that this year has been a really good reading year. Although I did say that about last year as well, but this year I think I read a lot of books that really impacted me, really left its mark on me, books that I will take with me forever, books that have taught me a lot, just how to have empathy and how to be positive, be optimistic. There are certain books that you read and you feel like you want to live exactly like the person in the book. Yeah, I've read a lot of books like those. Comparatively, this year it has been a truly really good reading year for me. So yeah, now let's start talking about the books that I absolutely adored this year. The last book that I gave 5 stars to was Just Kids by Patti Smith. I have talked about this book before, I guess, in one single video where I talked about how it made me feel so positive, how it felt like a ray of sunshine, like a garden of sunflowers. Those are the exact terms that I used in that video. But yeah, this book is about Patti Smith's relationship with Robert Mapplethorpe, how she met him, how she went to New York, and basically like an ode to New York City. But it is so much more than that. It is a book about Patti Smith's journey. It is a book about her struggles, how she as an artist strived for art. Even though she struggled a lot, she found herself in some of the worst situations imaginable, she still found some beauty in the mundane things. She had this eye for beauty that I don't know, I've never read any other character or a person have this sort of eye for beauty. Even in the worst situations, she could still find some hopeful or positive things, and I thought that that was such an admirable quality, because sometimes when I feel sad or I feel low in some point in my life, I also want to have that same sort of hope that Patti Smith had all her life. I also want to see something positive in everything. That's just a really beautiful quality that Patti Smith had, and her book is just like art. It's just a piece of art. It is a masterpiece. It is one of the best books I've ever read. And to think that it is a memoir, it is a real person's life story, that is even more mind-blowing for me. And yeah, no matter how many times I talk about that book, no matter how much praises I give to that book, it is less. It needs way more than I am able to offer to that book. And yeah, I just love that book a lot. The next favorite is actually a trilogy, and that is the Hunger Games trilogy. I read Hunger Games last year. This year I read Catching Fire and Mockingjay, and oh my god, that 3 books should be taught in every single school to every single person. It should be like, important books to read before I die, or important books to read as I grow up, because the impact that trilogy holds in our world is so big. And I know that this has been talked about before. A lot of praises have been given to this book, but for me, I read this book during Met Gala this year, and to think about how relatable the book was to the situation in our world, it truly made me feel speechless. I couldn't believe that this book was written in 2007, and the things that were written about in that year was actually happening today as well. You could see the whole Met Gala happening, and then there was this other side of the story where people were suffering a lot. You could see that happening today in 2024, while this book was written in 2007. It just says a lot, about how our world functions, about how our world operates. Even though I have read a lot of dystopian young adult books that talk about changing the system and all, I've never actually read a young adult book that is this true to our real life as well. I don't know how and why I did not pick this up when I was younger, and I'm actually kind of glad about that, because the empathy that I had for the characters today as a 20-year-old, I don't think I would have had as a 13-14 years old. I could truly understand the pain that they were in, the sufferings of them, especially like throughout the whole trilogy. The only thing that was going on in my mind was that these characters were 16-year-old, they were 17-year-old, they were 18-year-old, they were so young. Like Prim was literally 12 years old. And then I connected that to a real world situation where people who were this young were actually suffering for their freedom, for their life. And yeah, it was just a really miserable situation. It is truly one of the best young adult trilogy I have ever read. I also joined the Reddit club community of the Hunger Games, and it has a lot of beautiful and fun opinions. If you are not on Reddit, don't join it. Actually, Reddit is a very negative space. I'm really trying to avoid that app, but there are all these amazing interesting posts that always pull me back to that app. But yeah, moving on. Next favorite is not exactly a novel, it is a comic book, and that is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too. This is not even a novel or a short novel. It is basically just this series of drawings about this young alien who comes to Earth to study human beings, but instead meets these trees and plants and animals, insects, and learns about human emotions, human behavior. He is very lonely because he doesn't feel connected to the other aliens. So when he comes to Earth, he just meets these new people who understand him, who help him understand himself and help him come out of his misery and just find happiness. It is such a positive book. Like no matter what mood you're in, whenever you pick this book up, you will instantly feel uplifted. Like that is how positive a book this is. The whole time I was reading this, I just had this smile on my face because I could understand what the alien was going through, how it was feeling, and I also loved how simple yet wise all the quotes were. This is just a really beautiful, thoughtful, short book. You can finish this book in probably 1 or 2 hours, or you can savor it and you can just read certain parts every day, so that when you wake up you feel this positive aura and vibe all around you. I love that alien a lot. It's really cute. The drawings also were so simple yet so cute, and you just wanted to give that alien a hug throughout the book, because that he was just so lonely and so innocent. Yeah, you just wanted to give him a hug. You just wanted to tell him that no, you are fine, you are completely fine, you are completely normal. The things that you're feeling are things that everyone feels in their life. Like, yeah, it's a really cute book. I think you should read it if you are in a reading slump, or you just want to read something very light, like that is the sort of book that it is. Next is a beautiful, brilliant book that made me cry. I actually never thought that it would, but yes, it did make me cry, and that is Rouge by Mona Awad. This is about Mirabelle. I remember the name. This is about Mirabelle, whose mother has just died, and she has come to California or some place like that, where she finds this invitation to a mysterious spa that is only ever open at night. She goes to this spa to get this facial because she is obsessed with her skin. Like applies like 30 products to her face just to look beautiful, just to have this clear skin. Throughout the book we see her childhood, what she went through as a child. We read about generational trauma, how Mirabelle and her mother had this really complicated relationship. This is the book where I truly understood the meaning of unreliable narrator, because no, you should read the book first, because otherwise this would be a spoiler. But yeah, certain perceptions of Mirabelle, like certain character perceptions of Mirabelle, was completely different towards the end. Like there were certain characters with whom I hated in the beginning, because I felt that they did not have the best intentions of Mirabelle in their mind. But towards the end, the light completely changed. Suddenly they were like pulled out of the darkness, and I was like, didn't this character not like Mirabelle? Now they're certainly suddenly like thinking about her and her well-being. Like that is how unreliable Mirabelle was as a narrator, and the writing itself is just so beautiful. It is exactly like how other Mona Awad books are. It is a dark fairy tale retelling of Snow White and a commentary on how unattainable our beauty standards are in this society. How, you know, in order to have that clear glowing skin, there are people who are willing to do anything. Like there are companies that are selling you absolutely rubbish stuff in the name of having a good clear skin. There are people who absolutely love their skincare, and you should, that is completely your choice and your love for something. But this book made me truly terrified of skincare. Like I just, you know, never want to see myself in that position where I have to be obsessed about products on my face just to look good. I don't ever want to be in a situation like that. Having a 2-step routine is still fine, 2-3-step routine, but having a 30-step routine where you have to wake up and apply 30 products in the morning and then 30 products in the night just to look good is absurd to me. This book is not only a commentary about beauty standards, it's also about this beautiful relationship between Mirabelle and her mother. Towards the end, there is this certain scene that happens, that takes place, that, you know, just makes me cry. I just felt so emotional at that scene, and I could just imagine it visually in my mind, and I just want to see it adapted into a movie. So if a good director picks up this movie, it's going to be like an absolute masterpiece of a movie. Next favorite is a book that surprised me the most out of all the books in this list, and that is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is my first ever Junji Ito manga. I had never read any of the other mangas of his. I knew that he was a horror like storyteller. For me, it's like visual media is more creepy than reading some mere words or drawings on a page. I just feel like some words on a page or drawings on a page don't have that same impact as a monster coming out, you know, of the screen. But this book changed that thinking. This book made me realize that no, there are drawings, mere drawings that could truly terrify you, that could become your nightmares. I read this, I think, months back, and I still have nightmares about this book. There are certain scenes of this book that are just imprinted in my mind. They are tattooed in my brain. I sometimes, you know, when I'm like doing nothing, I suddenly think of this one scene from that book and I'm like creeped out. I feel really eerie. That's how creepy and nightmarish this book is. It is about this town which is obsessed with spirals. Every bad thing that happens in the town happens due to something that is related to spirals, and there are like different interconnected stories that lead to this ultimate end, which is another one of my nightmares. It actually had certain stories that I had thought of before that I did not like, as like I don't like absolute black spaces, I don't like crowds, and the book had certain elements like that. I just felt really creeped out. I wanted to turn the next page, but I was also so scared of what I was going to find in the next page. Yeah, it just, I feel as if one of the characters is just going to come into the room when I think of this book, because yeah, I'm just really scared of this book. But I want to read it again because some twisted part of my brain wants to read the books again, but I don't want to get nightmares so soon. So I am going to read this book, but I'm going to take a long break first, like maybe 5 to 10 years, then before I read this book again. I would probably end up reading this tomorrow. Next favorite is The Shepherd King duology, that is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. These books had everything I love about fantasy books. These had mist, it had rain, it had beautiful characters and character developments. It had this dark cottagecore vibe, like, you know, the vibe that you find in Maleficent movies. This had the exact same vibe that I loved in the Folk of the Air trilogy. It just felt so green while I was reading it. It is about Elspeth, who lives in the city town called London or something. I don't know, sorry, I don't remember. But in that town there is this good magic and bad magic. Good magic is basically where you use cards to wield magic, and bad magic is when you get lost in the forest, get lost in the mist, and this forest gifts you a power of your own, but it is like degenerative. It is bad because the people decided that. And then the story follows of how you tackle bad magic, good magic. It's your basic fantasy story, but the atmosphere, it is beautiful, it is entertaining. There are action scenes, there are love scenes, there is friendship in this book. Everything about this book is very entertaining, it is very beautiful. The second part is an elevated version of the first part, and I just enjoyed myself thoroughly while reading these books. There were certain cringy moments as well, cringy dialogues or scene, but I overlooked that because of how much I was enjoying myself. If you ever feel bored and you just want some entertainment where you don't want to think, you pick up these books. Next book is a book that I have actually already talked about, but I am going to talk about it again, and that is Welcome to the Hyunam Dong Bookshop. It is a book about this character who, because I don't remember, it is a book about this character who suddenly decides to leave her job and open up this bookshop with a cute little cafe on the side, and that is the dream, right? That is what every reader's dream is, to open up their own bookshop. And normally when I read books that talk about opening up a bookshop and everything, it just seems very easy peasy. But this book actually showed the reality of how difficult it is to maintain a bookshop. There were these characters who had these different problems that they talked about throughout the book, but each of these problems, although looked very simple, those were like deep-rooted problems of our society, of our real life. And I loved how, even though there was this element of complete fantasy, like thinking wise, where you read about opening up a bookshop, you read about the workings of a bookshop, of a cafe, but at the same time you also read about these real life problems that we as human beings face in our everyday life. The book did not actually provide a solution for these problems, but it did acknowledge them, so you kind of felt better, you felt validated. That is the part about this book that I really liked, about how there is someone out there who is facing the same problem and even he doesn't have a solution for that. So how am I supposed to think of a solution so suddenly, so quickly? It talked about how toxic our work, Korea's work culture is, but yeah, I think that applies everywhere. It talked about how toxic society's expectation of work culture is. It was about bookshops and my dream of opening up a bookshop. Even though I don't think that I can ever have a bookshop of my own, I just know that whenever I pick this book up, for just a moment I can imagine opening up my own bookshop, my own cafe, and just enjoy myself being surrounded by books. Even though it is all going on in my mind, I could still have my 2 moments of fame, really. Next is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I went from Convenience Store Woman to Earthlings, and both these books are like polar opposites. One is North Pole, another is South Pole. Convenience Store Woman was such a simple and mundane book about this woman who I think is autistic. I don't know, I read somewhere that she's autistic, but she just wants to be a convenience store woman. She just wants to lead this simple life, and the whole book surrounded how she faces the society's expectations of her being successful. Yeah, that is about convenience store women. Go read that book if you want to. But this book, Earthlings, it made me speechless for a few moments. I read this book really quickly, like I think in a day or something, because it's only 200 pages, but it just made me, for me, this is a book about how traumatized people deal with their surroundings, deal with the world. It is about how people look at traumatized people who don't understand what these people have gone through, and they don't even want to understand, and these traumatized people have to deal with it. They don't really have someone who hears them, who understands them, and because of that, the things that they have gone through always stays with them. Society expects them to live a completely normal life. They expect them to move on from the traumatic events that took place, and they expect them to lead a normal mundane life, which is not possible. But yeah, that is what expectations are. In this book, we read about these three characters who have faced something traumatic in their lives, in their younger lives. We see them trying to live a normal life, but it is just not possible, and towards the end they go completely crazy. In the end, you kind of see them happy being this crazy version of themselves. And yeah, it's a very difficult book to talk about. It's a very difficult book to read. I personally wouldn't recommend this to anyone, but it is a beautiful book. And if you do pick up this book, please go read the trigger warnings first. Next is a manga, my first ever manga, if you don't count webtoon, and that is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Spoiler alert, but this is a sad story, just sad. It is about these two high school children who become friends one day, and we read about their, them going out, them talking, their conversations, and then one day you realize that the girl has cancer. Actually, in the beginning only you realize that the girl has cancer, and the guy kind of knows about it, but he is still willing to be her friend. In the beginning, although he feels kind of detached from the girl, he kind of feels emotionless. Yeah, towards the end that completely flips. This book made me cry. I don't think I need to say anything more about a sad manga, but yeah, this book made me cry. I loved it. The last favorite is The 10,000 Laws of January by Alex E. Harrow. This is a book that I'm actually conflicted about now. I read this book in January because the 10,000 Laws of January, and I gave this book 5 star in January, but now that I think about it, I don't really know if this book was actually 5 star worthy. It all happened because I read The Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, the same author, and I DNF'd it. I did not like the writing style at all. It just felt really juvenile and immature. The whole story also was not really written well. I couldn't see where the story was going. It did not capture my attention and everything. But then I thought about how I loved The 10,000 Laws of January, how I loved the writing in that book, and it made me think that both these books are written by the same author. And although I gave one book 5 stars, I gave the other, I did not give anything the other because I DNF'd it. And then it made me think about if I truly actually loved 10,000 Laws of January. So yeah, now I'm kind of conflicted about that, but I'm going to stick to my decision and just give this book like a 5 star rating and talk about it as my favorite. It is about January, who has this reddish brown skin and is living in the 80s or 70s or something with her guardian, and her guardian he always wants to control her. He wants to maintain her as this proper young woman. Basically, she is not allowed to dream. She is not allowed to be imaginative, because being imaginative makes you a hysterical woman and can get you admitted to an asylum. So you always have to be proper. Throughout the book, we read about how she finds these doors which leads to these beautiful magical new worlds, and how there is this one world out there that she truly belongs to. It is a book about her finding her self-value, her self-worth. It is about her trying to find a place where she truly belongs with the people who appreciate her, who accept her as she is, and how she breaks the golden cage that her guardian has locked her in. It is a beautiful book. It was a beautiful book when I read it. Now I don't know. I think it still is a beautiful book. I cannot just judge it based on how I liked The Starling House, but at that moment in January, I absolutely loved everything about this book. I loved how it talked about these doors, these new worlds. At that moment, I just loved thinking about how there are certain doors which you can visit, doors all around the world, and if you ever find a door, you can just open it and go to a completely new place. As a thought, that is just really, really beautiful. I'm going to stick to my decision and give that book a 5 star. So yeah, that is the last favorite of this year for me. I think those are 10 books, which is really nice because I don't have to think about what books to include in the favorites list. But yeah, these are the top 10 books that I read in 2024. Comment down below if you watched the video till the end what your favorite books were of this year. And happy new year, and hope you have a beautiful new year ahead of you. You know, new beginnings, new everything. Just lead a happy life this new year. Yeah, bye.